It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
Hello, everyone. This is Tyrone Lowe. This is my show, The Legends. And I want to thank everybody that subscribes, tune in, and show me all their love. And in the House of the Legends, I actually met this brother when I was at church. I had no idea that they were actually going to have a concert. And when I heard this brother play, it just actually blew me away. So I had to have him on the show. So I bring to you Merlon Devine. Hey, Merlon.
How's it going, man?
How's it going, man? It's good. You know, it was just so funny that that day I came to church. I was in for a big treat,
Yeah,
and I had no idea that I was going to be actually be treated.
yeah.
So and what happened was is that when you got on stage, because I'm a big, huge jazz fan. I like Najee, I like Grover, and you sort of like took me there. So let's talk about the beginning and let the viewers know about how you actually started, back in the day, how you actually got interested in playing the sax.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Tyrone, for having me on the show. I'm
Hmm.
honored to do that. And yeah, so how I got started was, wow, and from a big family, a church family. My father was a pastor, and so music was all around us in the house. Um, all my siblings sang, and so I quickly gravitated to the music side of things because I couldn't sing, and uh, and so my mom introduced me to some different artists, and one of them was a saxophone player named Bernard Johnson. He was real wide known, well known rather, in the church world that we were in, and I just gravitated to him. And when I started playing, he was my first inspiration, and then quickly after that, you said the name already, and that's Najee. I got
Right.
some of his music and heard it at school, and it just changed my whole direction. Najee to George Howard to Grover Washington, some Kenny G was in there. I mean, then I fell up on Kurt Whalen. That's where I've been the last 20 years, man.
It's funny because jazz is really a love of mine. And when you hear the word jazz, what do you think about?
I think about freedom. I think about expression,
Hmm.
and for me, that's the crux of it. Just being able to flow and allow what's in you to come out as you feel it in that moment, or improvising. And of course, we know it's more technical than that when it comes to chord changes and knowing the standards and things like that. But I think jazz is so big and so vast now that it just incorporates a lot of things. So for me, when I just hear it, I immediately think about freedom to be you in the music.
You know, um, let's talk about the old school. Because I go back like Sonny Rollin, Miles.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very deep. Billy Gobham. I'm into a variety of sense of jazz. So, was the old school for you an influence?
Not at the beginning because
Okay.
in the world that I was in, the church world, it just really wasn't promoted a lot to talk about or listen to jazz. And again, we had our few players, like the one I mentioned, that we got to hear, but it was real, just more hymnal like or churchy, if I can say that. And
Hmm.
then I really didn't get introduced to those players like John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, Joe Henderson, those guys until I got in college. And I
Hmm.
started to study jazz and understand where it came from in its origins and the players of those times and what they already had laid out for so many of us to learn. So yeah, I,
So,
I don't have a
go ahead.
problem with it all. But yeah, that wasn't what pulled me in at the beginning.
I believe that you told a story when I was at church and I listened to it about you had a complication in
Yeah.
your lifetime at one time where they never thought that you would actually be as productive as you are right now. So, would you like to share that with the
Oh yeah, yeah.
viewers?
Would love to. I was born. Again, I said in a big family, I'm on the younger side, so I have a lot of older siblings. But I was born prematurely, and doctors diagnosed me with asthma and severe allergies. And this is what my mom was sharing with me, and that they were saying that it wouldn't be, it would just be pretty bleak for me, I wouldn't be able to do certain things, and that breathing would be challenged for my life. And it seemed like that was the case for the first 12 years of my life. I was in and out of clinics and really trying to figure out every year. My allergies moved, just they were like ghostly. They changed every year, and then of course the asthma held me back. And but at the age of 12, from seeing that saxophonist play years ago, I just held on to that in my heart, and then picked up the horn at 12. My parents prayed for me again at that time, and it was miraculously healed. I was miraculously healed at that time. I have not had an ounce of it since then.
You know, that sense of accomplishment is very nice to
Yeah,
hear. That, you know, and that brings me to the saying that God can pull you through anything.
that's right. I
You
believe that.
know, and you see the church that I go to, so you know what goes on in there. We are really, really in tune. You know
Yes,
what I'm saying?
that's
And
right.
like I said, that day that I saw you in there just took me to a whole different side, because a brother like you coming to a congregation of us and actually projecting and telling your story, that was very, very epic. You
Man,
know.
it's been a blessing and an honor to be. I feel like God has placed me in this 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 season that I'm in this life to do that, to bring music to the church. And although I grew up in the church, but the music that I love is quite different from a lot of what the church listens to. So I'm
Hmm.
able now to go and share in a lot of these churches a style of music, smooth jazz, contemporary jazz, whatever you want to call it, that they love, but they're not getting in that actual setting. And it's still from, in my opinion, from God.
So my thing is, you're giving energy, and what do you get? What do you want back from that energy? What are you feeling from that? You know, when, especially when you get that total response of actually everybody just grooving to your sound. How does that really make you feel, man?
Wow. It's just like a level of completion because I'm giving out. I've created this music, or I've written it, or through inspiration rather, and now I'm sharing it with people, and them to give that response back to me as a result of me sharing that music is like a completion of the whole process. I mean, I feel like, wow, they got it, they understood it, they can feel it, it's sunk in their heart, you know.
You know, if you could go back to a time and place to actually do something over again, what would you think that would be? To make an actual correction of something so you can feel wholesome, what would
You
you
know,
think that would be?
I would I would have loved to have the opportunity. There, I was remember before I started playing the sax,
Hmm.
a gentleman telling me all those players that I really need to go and listen to: Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and all those ones like that, the originators, you know. And my brain just wasn't ready to receive it or hear it or understand it. And I wish I would have dug in more and been more patient to just say, okay, let me just, there's got to be something here. Let me check it out. I got to that moment later, many years later, but I wish I would have given it a more, some more time then.
You know, it's very good because I produce music. You know, as you can see, I'm in my studio now in my house, man,
Yeah.
and I noticed that in my first production, I was listening to jazz, where I was actually taking a little bit of Miles, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, where I was actually sampling them in my
Yeah.
tracks,
I see.
you know. And to me, jazz is like a foundation of all music, really, because don't get me wrong, I like rock and roll, I like soul, and things like that. But even though I love to play house music as a house head that I am, when I mellow out,
Yeah.
I'm listening to jazz. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
That's right.
it's really a turn down from being out there, and it gives you better contemplation because I call jazz. I always said to my friend, because he plays in a jazz band, I say jazz makes me think of blackness,
Hmm.
the cultural.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel that's a good thing. You know, when you can think of jazz of being something to encourage you and take and give you energy to, and you know, it just makes me get do better things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
stuff.
feel you.
You know, so you know, you travel a lot, and I know you do. So let's talk about briefly your very first concert?
Wow. My very first concert was for a pastor that literally made me do the concert. I had been doing like a song at a church here, and then maybe another song at another church, just one or two songs. And he called me about doing a concert for their church on New Year's Eve. And I thought, okay, he just wanted me to come and play a song or two. He said, I'm gonna give you an hour. And then I'm gonna say some things leading us into the new year. And I said, a whole hour, that's 60 minutes. I said, man, I've never played that long before in one setting, you know. And he encouraged me and told me I could do it, and just really said it's not that hard, you can do it. So I made it through that time, but it was a terrifying time for me.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to take a little break. We're going to listen to something by Merlon. I call him Merlon. I have a thing with his name, but that's my way of calling you, so it's
That'll
okay.
work. I can take it Merlon.
So we're going to listen to something from him, and we'll be right back.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
We got some fun people in the house tonight.
This is our house.
Really down, playing the games you do. Someday, everything will be alright. Yeah, and different people make the world go round.
Because of you, my dreams are coming true.
That erases my rainy day.
Right now, I don't care who's watching.
For whatever the reason there might be.
With your love by my side, the world will be mine. You're the one for me.
Yeah! Nobody
Hey, we're back. This is Tyrone Lowe. This is my show, The Legends, and my guest today is Merlon Devine. Hey, Merlon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you well.
Okay, that song just took me on a journey because, like I said, I'm a Grover.
Yeah.
I like Najee, and I was first introduced to Najee at I was actually at an African festival, and I was really young at the time, and I liked the vibe that he was giving, and that type of music is actually a vibe by itself.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, how often do you actually record, and how often do you actually practice, and most of all, what type of mindset did you be in when you actually, create your productions?
So I'm looking back over the years and the recordings I've done. It's looking like every 2 years I probably do a new full length CD, and so I've recorded 9 CDs over the last 20 years since 2002, and so yeah, about every 2 years I practice every day. I try to.
Okay.
There's some days I miss because when I'm traveling a lot and every weekend or doing events through the week too, sometimes I have to go and put on another hat, the booking hat, the manager hat, and do some other things. And so I'll miss a day or two here and there, but I try to get a good every day in.
My question to you is that most saxophone players that I know, they actually play the flute too. Do you?
I do play the flute, and you'll hear it on some of my CDs here and there. And a lot of my background horn parts, you hear flute mixed in because I love the combination of flute and sax together for background horns. And so you'll hear that just about on any CD of mine where there's background horns. Now, I'm not at the level of my mentor, Najee.
Right.
He's amazing, and I love his flute playing. But yeah, you're right. The fingerings are very similar from sax to flute, and that's why you see a lot of sax players doubling on the flute.
Let's bring my viewers up to speed. So let's talk about some current events. What's going on, Milan? Let them know what's going on with you, where you're going to be touring, and where you're going to be at.
Yeah, I have a good amount of dates coming up. You can get them through my site, merlondevine.com. But next, I have a concert that I'm doing in Lockport, Illinois, and it's a tribute actually to Grover Washington and Art Porter Jr. And I'm doing that concert with my good friend Marcus Adams, who's a saxophone player, and then there's Brittany Otterberry. She's out of Georgia. She's going to be on the concert. She's a saxophonist, and she's going to be on the concert as well. So the three of us are going to pay homage to Art Porter Jr. and Grover Washington Jr. And that's on the 26th of this month in Lockport, Illinois.
I just happened to when you said about Najee, I had a recording artist on my show called Beth.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of her, but she was actually touring with Najee. She was opening it up for him as well.
Wow.
And stuff. So, not to be judgmental or anything like that, but we all got our favorites, as far as artists. So if you actually had to do a set on stage with an artist of your choice, now there's a lot of good ones out there, but I'm just saying, if you had to actually do a set with an artist on stage, who would that be, and what would be your dream set?
Wow. Shoot, man, that's a good question. I named one of my guys. That's Kirk Whalum. I would love to do something with him, on stage, and I have done a thing or two in the past with him. But as far as a singer, I think I would go back old school for me, and that's Anita Baker, man.
Okay.
Yeah. I love her because she sings like an instrumentalist. Her tone and her voice, her style, the choices she makes in her notes for improvising. I love it. She's just classic, and she's been around, and she's still current.
Okay. So let's give my viewers some definition. So what would you define old school as and contemporary jazz? What will be the actually definition for both of them so they will actually know the difference?
Again, I don't want to get in trouble and somebody say, that's not right. It's so vast. As I said earlier, I guess traditional jazz, from the 60s, 70s, 50, 60, 70s, that age where it was really, in my opinion, formulating and starting. Those players back in those days, I would say, are standard for what we base jazz going forward from. Of course, as something builds and grows, it expands and gets bigger because we got a great base, a great foundation through what they've laid. But
Right.
that's why we see it so vast and wide now, because so much you can do on standing on their shoulders.
I always ask my guests this question because to me it just makes sense. Upcoming artists are coming up right now. They could be doing jazz, hip hop, any type of production, even acting right now. What would you say to them to actually encourage them to go forward, with their craft?
Yeah, consistency is the same. It's just stay with it. Don't stop. When we stop and we take breaks, a lot of times that's where we can get discouraged because we see other people and people passing us, or so to speak. I don't think anybody can pass you. You just have to be true to who you are and just stay consistent with it. You'll get better, and you'll find that you're really, just by putting a little bit more in every day, you're actually becoming a leader and something that people can look to and say, I trust what he's doing or what she's doing because she's been doing it for a minute, and I like what is coming out of them. Don't be worried about everybody liking you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said earlier, we all have our favorites,
Right.
and so I know I'm not going to be everybody's favorite saxophonist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and that's okay. I'm good with that. But I know that there's a lot of people that I'm going to play for that will gravitate to me and my sound and my style of playing, and I just got to find those people. So I just can't be worried about the ones that say, well, he's not my cup of tea, I like this one and that one. And that's cool. It's so many of us, we can all have what we need to have and meet the needs of people.
Are you in tune with more of the business aspect of it? Can you share a little bit of that to my viewers as well?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I've been my manager, my booking agent, and all those. I've worn all those hats, and to see now, I'm glad that back in 2000, early 2000, when the digital world was coming in, I was immediately putting music in digital format and on, so it could be downloaded and streamed, and now I'm seeing that, man, that was important, and I'm getting the benefits of that. And reaping that rather from doing that way back in the year. So I think it's important to own your music, to make sure you copyright it, make sure you pay those who you need to pay, and that you are that you're diligent about making sure it's properly recorded, and that you get the credit and you give the credit to those that need it.
Okay. Any shout outs to anyone that you want to acknowledge right now that might be watching this?
God, I always want to shout out God is my savior, and I'm excited about what I get to do and that he gave me a gift to share with others. Thank my wife. She's always been a supporter, Raquel, married 27 years. So she's been there by my side, encouraging me and my kids if they get to watch it. So thank you guys.
You ever thought about doing any acting or maybe doing soundtracks for a movie or something like that? Have that ever occurred to you?
Now, soundtracks, I have thought about. That would be cool. I'm not really into the acting thing. That's not nothing that just excites me. I would like to watch it, and but I don't want to be one. But yeah, the soundtracks, that would be cool. I've never done that, but I think it could be interesting.
Merlon, it's been a pleasure, and I mean a pleasure. They say that God put you in the right place for real reasons, and so.
Yeah.
But I want you guys to support him. Get his CDs. Look him up. Go online, look him up. Check out his planning events and admire what he does as an artist. And so this has been another T-Lo video production, and this is my show, The Legends. My name is Tyrone Lowe, and I thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks a lot, Merlon.
Thank you so much, Tyrone.
It's not just mine, it's on her house. This is our house.
We got some fun people in the house tonight.
This is our house.
house.
The dynamic soul sounds of
For the love of
DJ
dance.
Tyrone Lowe. DJ Tyrone Lowe. DJ Tyrone Lowe.
That's nice. That's nice. That's nice.
DJ Tyrone Lowe. The dynamic soul sounds of DJ Tyrone Lowe.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.